Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us today on our 50-state journey. You would not believe where I am right now and who I am speaking with. I am in a conference room, don't know how I got here, for an attorney's office, okay? And I am sitting here speaking with two business gurus. And so get ready to get motivated on the business front here, because I'm finding in Dallas, Texas, there's a lot of business-minded entrepreneurs, risk takers, leapers, all that good stuff. So first of all, Alex Muse, hello.
Hi.
Jason Treu, been on the show before, and you are our host here in Dallas. Thank you so much for having us.
You are welcome. I'm glad you could make it here.
I know you've been such a great sport today. We've been recording you and videoing you and just having really in-depth conversations, probably racking your brain a little bit. But you're used to that, aren't you?
Yes. Love it.
I know you really do. And I love that about you. So guys, and let's start with Alex first. Alex, you two are working on something together. And one of the cool things about business people and entrepreneurs is that you have multiple revenue streams. And that's like the genius in entrepreneurship, because you're not tied to one job where if you lost your job, you lost your income and no more revenue. So can you tell everybody, Alex, what you and Jason are working on together?
Yeah, Jason and I actually met last year. I think we've known each other for a long time, but we met last year when I was really going through a transition in my career, really trying to figure out what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And so we began working through his coaching program and really thinking about, you know, what was working in my life and what wasn't working in my life. And we worked on everything from personal to business to almost spiritual at some levels. So,
which we got a taste of that before this interview just now, reaching out to Jason, and we were all like grilling Jason on a personal, spiritual front.
Exactly. And so the good news through that sort of process that we went through, we sort of started that in the summer, sort of finished that right before the holidays, and really started executing on that myself. Just really, you know, going with what I had kind of learned through my experience with Jason and sort of just putting my life where I wanted it to be. And I reached back out to Jason and I said, I think I liked some of the things that we were working on, and I had an idea. And so together we started putting together an idea about how to sort of share some of our experiences with other folks. And so the idea was, you know, there's this new opportunity, right? I think that some of our success has been built around early stage startups. And so we've started early stage startups and we've invested in early stage startups. But for the longest time, normal people couldn't really get involved. And the way that the SEC laws were developed, they were meant to protect normal people from investing in high growth opportunities, because there were shysters out there who would steal your money. And so it became kind of an interesting kind of quandary, which was the most lucrative deals that you could get into, you weren't allowed to get into. So let's say you lived next door to Travis, who started Uber, and you were just a normal software engineer and doing really well, but not quite an accredited investor. You weren't allowed to invest in a startup, and so you couldn't become a multimillionaire or a billionaire because you happen to know a guy doing a great investment. And so fortunately, President Obama passed the Jobs Act, and through the Jobs Act, normal everyday Americans are now allowed to invest in early stage startups. And so there are a lot of new rules that allow us to let people participate. But the good news is everyone can participate now in this sort of new economy that's out there. The bad news is that there are not a lot of education. You are not accredited, so you really don't have any information as to how to make the investments and what deals to look at. And so Jason and I thought, wouldn't it be interesting if we could build curriculum that could help individuals invest in these early stage deals in a smart way? And that's really what we're putting together today.
Okay, so Jason, what are your thoughts on this?
I mean, I think it's great. And one of the things that we thought about was not just to have people give them a platform to invest, but have it be mandatory that they take a course, right? They take a short course that we could go through, so they would, at least that they know that they've been educated to some degree before they start investing in anything that we put on the table for them, and they can take a look at, which I think is pretty important, because a lot of times people invest in things and they haven't really thought through it, and so we're trying to get people through that, and we'll give them some sort of certificate, right? And it's a pretty short process, but I think it's really important. But I think this also opens up an opportunity for people to have a lot more freedom, right? Where they can invest in and be a part of things right from the inception. And we're trying to look at this in a way that people can have a lot of capital opportunities to make some money, and they can either win in some, lose in some, but then but also get an education through the process. And not only that, but we're thinking about doing other things just to make sure individuals really understand the full breadth of opportunities that they have. So the platform kind of is somewhat limitless in what we can do with it.
Right, and what I love about me speaking with the two of you at this stage is that you're not done constructing what this is all about. And I think that's so important for my audience who wants to start their own business or wants to invest or wants to partner with somebody else, to kind of catch you two in the planning process, which I know you're very far in, or you're deep in the process, but you're not done yet. Right, Jason?
Yeah, I mean, we still have a lot to go, but we have a battle plan and a lot of things ironed out, and realizing kind of what we have to do to execute this, which is the key piece of the puzzle. And I think one of the other ones is we try to look at is, for us as an entrepreneur, like, what's the addressable market? Because a lot of times you have an idea, but it's so small that it's so difficult to reach the people. But at the end of the day, people that want to invest in startup companies is like every single person almost, right? Because they'll want to invest in something. So it's pretty much the audience is limitless versus going after people who want to start their own business. Well, that's great, but that's a much smaller piece of pie to go after. So I think that's a great opportunity for us to capitalize on.
And that's really kind of an example of the pivot that we made at the very beginning, because the experience we have is, when I started my first startup in my 20s and raised, about $15 million from George Soros and other investors to go do my first startup. And so,
What was your first startup,
It was
Alex?
called Layer One. It was a kind of a telecom data center type company, ultimately bought by Equinix in 2003. And
I'm sorry you weren't successful with that. Very sorry.
No, but we had great failure and great success and a great experience. And so when we first started talking, Jason and I had the idea, which was like, let's help people figure out this whole crazy startup funding world. How do you raise your seed capital? How do you do your Series A? How do you get your funding? How do you put it together? And what are the tips? What are the tricks?
Or even, what are these things that you're talking about? I'm sure you would define that in your curriculum.
Exactly.
Because there's people like me who would love to get involved with startups, but I would need to learn a lot first.
Exactly. And so I think the curriculum that we ultimately pivoted to was take all of that experience in raising capital so that we could reveal, sort of almost peel back the curtain to normal folks. Say, here's kind of what a startup is going through at every stage of its development, and here's the opportunities to make investments at every stage of its development, and here's where you can make the most, and here's where you might take a flyer, don't necessarily get involved at this point, but maybe get involved here. And so the twist that we have, and what's unique about this, is we're going to show regular investors ways to invest in startups in a way that's from the perspective of how the startup would view them. And I think that's what we're always missing out on. And so that's the twist that I think is going to create a really great opportunity for individual investors. And I think if you are wanting to start a business and figure out how to get funding, this will help you as well, because it'll give you that same curriculum we would have given you anyway, but doing it from the perspective of the investor versus the startup.
I need to know, where did this fire and this passion for business come from?
I love helping people, and I think that's just an important part of it, that you have to be motivated about the people yourself and not necessarily the end goal, and in a way that's helping people, right? It's not about, of course this is about making money, but you can also parry that with helping people and making sure they have as much of the right information as you can put together, and try to look out for people to make sure they're making smart decisions. And to me, that's part and parcel of it. And I knew that Alex really believed in fundamentally the same thing and had the same sort of values. So for me, that's really important in working with someone, because then I know end of the day, it's going to be successful because you have the right people with the right values and wanting to help people, rather than seeing what's the easiest way to make a fast buck, or how can I end up just making money alone.
Because, Jason, you're a business coach.
Yes.
And were you Alex's business coach? Is
Yes.
that how you met? Yeah. Awesome. I could see how this could start. So, Alex, for you, what is it you love so much about business?
I think I love taking economics in school and trying to understand the relationships between economic concepts, and looking at productivity and prosperity, and how I see so many people being discouraged when they see our productivity gains as a country, but we don't see necessarily the same kind of corresponding increase in our individual prosperity. And I think entrepreneurship is this melding of this idea that if you can really create big gains in productivity, you can actually prosper yourself. And so I think what I'm passionate about is being able to share my experience with entrepreneurship as a way for other people to unleash their own prosperity. And I see so many people out there frustrated. They're waiting for something to happen to them, and nothing will happen to you unless you go do it. And I think there are ways we can unleash that, and we can show you how to start a business.
Especially in an educated, calculated, intelligent way.
Yeah, and you don't have to be that educated. We just have to know a few little terms.
Exactly.
And
exactly.
I think we can share those with people in a way that's, it's not expensive. You don't have to go to Wharton.
And that will give them the confidence.
Yes.
Which is a key, because now you've got a new set of opportunities that you didn't have before. And it's really open for almost anyone. You don't have to have some big block of cash that's sitting in the bank. You can, start getting it little by little on this. And that's what I think is also exciting for people, because incrementally now they can really enter this world where they could never have done it before.
Yeah, small amounts of capital put in the right places, if you're looking at the right opportunities, can turn into big numbers. I mean, today, if you were to invest $25,000 into Uber's first round, that's worth over $100 million today. So that's a really interesting kind of number. And I think if you could start looking at getting involved in a lot of little deals at very small amounts of money, which is what the opportunity that the Jobs
even if
Act
it's $1,000, right?
Exactly. I mean, think about that return. So, I mean, if you can get into 100 deals at $1,000 over the course of maybe 5 or 6 years, wow, you're looking at a really interesting opportunity. You're in the game.
You're in the game. You're building a portfolio. Yeah, that's really cool. So where are you at in this stage with this business?
Well, we put together the plan, and now we're starting to build this thing out. We had to have conversations, because again, like Alex said, we had initial conversations about this, but then we've had to take some little pivots and put some things together, and you've got to take a look at platforms to use and how to piece things together, and then do it in a way where we can, go all in, but not too all in it, so we can get out there and not be overwhelmed, but also have something that we can expand and build on that's not going to fall apart if we get a lot of numbers and a lot of eyeballs and people wanting to be a part of it.
So Alex, what's the best way for anybody to contact you guys in case they, have questions? And I really hope that once you have this up and rolling, that you definitely get into our private Facebook group and let everybody know.
Absolutely. Well, we're happy to get involved in that, and they can follow me on Twitter at Amuse is my handle, AMUSE, and I'll be announcing kind of all the stuff that we're doing there.
Yep. That's probably the best place.
Okay, cool. You guys, thank you so much for such a great afternoon. I mean, I'm having a blast hanging out with you guys. I mean, we've already had some great conversation and good times. So up here, in Dallas, overlooking Dallas from, one of those corner offices.
Yeah, and I want to thank Vela, our Kevin Vela, our attorney. He let us use his office today.
Last minute, which was super cool.
And so thanks, Kevin.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, that's it from Dallas. You motivate me. I'm Lynette Renda. This is Alex Muse and Jason Treu.
And I talk to you, 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 and we love, and we hate.